Good evening, guys. This is Ron. Uh, it's Monday evening, and we'll go ahead and get started. I did something I didn't do yesterday. I did not start with questions. I did not ask if we had any question at the start of the session. So I want to do that today. Make sure we ask if we have any questions on anything you may have heard or witnessed the last few days, or something that may have been discussed yesterday. Any questions at all, or comments for that matter?
Hey, Ron, this is Kathy.
Hey,
I
Kathy.
would like to, George is on the line today. I want him to recount again what he did with the 12/31/2020. I guess he did 23, not 24. If he could do a recap of that just to help me to understand it, because I wanted to make certain I didn't miss some of what he said, because I was pondering some things and then we ended, and so I'd like to hear it one more time if it's possible.
That's a good idea. I missed it myself yesterday, so I didn't have time to go back and hear it. Are you on, George?
No, he's not on.
Okay.
At least not yet. I remember what he said, so we give him a few minutes.
Okay.
If he does not come on, then I'll make an effort to do that. Okay.
Okay. You know what?
Okay.
And as he does it, I wouldn't mind him doing looking at 24 as well while we're going into this year. Uh, yeah. Okay. And thanks, Kathy. We'll get to him if George gets on tonight. Anyone else?
Yes, this is Angela. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, Angela. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. I just had a question. I just want to know, have anybody seen, well, there is some giants, and these giants, they pulled these giants from underneath the water, and they're actually walking, and I seen one of them, I seen the video on TikTok, but I looked it up on YouTube, and there was one African one that was real dark, and it was another one. But the African, they was feeding them cake. I mean, it was tall, and they pulled it out of the water, and it had like a scuba, one of those scuba diver hats on, them with the water, and the head was moving, and the eyes, and I don't know. This you see one, and I just wanted to have anybody seen it. It's
I
just
have
kind
not.
of strange.
Is anybody now where did you see this? Is this on like YouTube or something?
I saw it when I was on TikTok. I saw multiple videos, and I just was googling it on Google to see. Cause sometimes I know everything, but I mean, the video did seem real, cause they were pulling. You could see them pulling them out of the water, and they was real tall, and they were sitting down. But when I seen the one eating the cake, they was feeding them cake, and it looked like it was chewing it up. And I said, no, I don't know, just weird. It's weird.
Okay.
But they were actually feeding the cake.
Uh, I have no idea what that would be. We'll probably investigate it though if somebody else has any idea. I just urge us though, anything we see on TikTok and even YouTube, sometimes may not be what we think it is, but let's take a look at that because I'm not familiar with it. And if somebody
Okay.
wants to look it up while we're on or whatever, that would may be helpful too. But thank you, Angela. We'll get some feedback on that shortly. Maybe not tonight, but we will.
Okay.
Okay. But thank you. Anyone else? Questions or comments? Okay. I want to talk tonight then, if no one else has a talking point or something that got my attention. I think is interesting anyway. Uh, let's look at Matthew chapter 6 for just a minute. And I hope this makes sense and we get a discussion from Matthew chapter 6. And we talked about this on a couple of times because Sheldon did the Lord's Prayer. And I think we went into depth on that. But I just want to talk about verses 9 and 10. Are you there? Okay. I'm in Matthew chapter 6, verses 9 and 10. And this is Jesus. This is the thing that we know as the Lord's Prayer. They're asking Jesus about prayer, how to pray. And Jesus said, pray then in this way, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. The last couple of weeks, and particularly this week, I guess, I have felt good, like I'm experiencing something. And it kind of like we're on a journey. We're in the middle of something. We're heading somewhere. We're walking in something. And that's why I was interested in George looking at numbers for 2024, like we're in a doorway or something, or moving forward. A lot's going on in the world. A lot of it seems chaotic. And based on our discussions the last couple of days, we try to look at one thing and see what it opens up, what it tells us, or how you feel, or what do you experience from that. And the thing I want to talk about tonight that I think connects to what I'm feeling and what we've talked about the last couple of days, I want to talk about parenting. I want to talk about being a good parent. And what does that have to do with where we are? I think that is the action, the spiritual action that we find ourselves in right now. Instead of being looking at this and being proactive, especially not being reactive, being a good parent, meaning that never ends. You never stop. That feeling, that connection never ends. And the thing I wanted to focus on here was Father. It says, our Father who art in heaven. There is no separation between heaven and earth. They're one and the same. They're two sides of the same coin. Just like there is no separation between the masculine and the feminine. They're two sides of the same coin. And what we see when we look at this, you see that, and just this is just for sake of conversation. If I use the word lesser, the lesser is the action that ignites the greater into to motion. The lesser being the agitator. So you look at heaven, the relationship between heaven and earth, it is the earth that is the agitator. It is the lesser, as it is in heaven. That is a statement of walking in the journey. It's talking about the journey is what that describes. The lesser and the greater, I mentioned masculinity and femininity. It is a relationship. It comes together, and it only comes together if there is agitation, if there is something there that brings the spiritual, ignites that spiritual part of us to be seen, to be experienced. So when you look at Father, it says our Father, which are, so there are two words of Father we can look at here. The Hebrew word is Abba, A-B-B-A, and it is talking about a relationship. And I want to combine these because the Aramaic word that we have talked about is a boom. But both of them have this in common. This is talking about a relationship so strong that you create a new world What do I mean by that? I am so connected to my Father that it is one of submission and one of teacher. It is that type of relationship. I submit to the authority of my Father, and that is a world within itself. That relationship is so intimate. It is so close. There's nothing that can come between us. So when you look at it from the perspective of a boom, you're talking about a father, mother, that intimacy I have with experiencing what balance is supposed to look like. So as he said, which art in heaven, the balance that I seek is the enlightenment that is in me. So I submit to the process of trying to see that. I give my all to wanting to be one with that. So when I move in that direction, hallowed be thy name. The hallow the holiness, the separation is the character. So in other words, I'm open for whatever. Fill me up, open me up. I've given myself to this process, and there's nothing that can come between us. So as I do it, as Pastor does it, as Charles does it, as Kathy does it, we all come together as one. Okay, we all come together as one. So if you look at this from the perspective of heaven and earth. You are the one that nourishes the heaven and earth. You are the enlightenment that nourishes the heaven and earth. So when you look at what I'm trying to say, I'm using a boom as you take the shape of a boom, as you take on the characteristics of a boom, as you are always open as a boom. In other words, I am always ready to be filled. I am always available for whatever. Any questions before I go on? Because I'm seeing this myself as I talk it out. But it doesn't make
Mr.
sense.
Devlin, I have a question.
Okay.
I have a question. So Abum represents spiritual, masculine and feminine.
Right.
So why did Jesus use the term or the name Father? Why did he say Father?
That's the translation, Evelyn. We have to remember that these were words that were translated. This was originally written in Aramaic and not in English or Greek. You see, you have men who are religious who wants to make everything masculine. That is done in order to control things and to have dominance over everybody. So and you can see the shape that the world is now, because just like that translation, look at how confused we are about what's in the scriptures. Look at how long it took us to not only see the relationship of femininity when we looked at Abraham and Sarah, and especially when we looked at Isaac and Rebecca, and even Adam and Eve, Adam and Sheba. When we look at those and we see, just like heaven and earth, you don't have one without the other. You cannot discuss one without the other. So the word father is a poor translation here.
Okay, and I'm glad you explained that because it is confusing. And Happy New Year too. I meant to say that before I started asking my question, but Happy New Year to the family. Okay, Ron, thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate the question. Anybody else? Did anybody else have something they'd like to say to Evelyn's question? Okay. So the thing that I'm wanting us to see here is those who have submitted themselves to truth, those who have followed this journey, those who remained true to who they are, those of us who have learned how to pray/meditate, those who have given up free will, those who are learning and experiencing our pineal gland and how to see with our third eye. You have been given a responsibility, and the responsibility is taking on the role of father, mother in the earth. The father, mother in the earth is no different than you having a child. In other words, all this stuff that we see, all this stuff that looks chaotic, all this stuff, you can't turn on television. This country's bombed, that country, even the US involved in stuff. I mean, it looks totally chaotic. But what would you do if you truly saw these as your children? And what I'm saying to you is the doorway that I think I'm experiencing, that I'm seeing, is us walking into this. We are as we are still learning, as we are still becoming, we're also turning into action. And the spiritual parts of this that we've talked about, especially this past year, when we talked about the lining up of the planet, when we talked about my mind is the fifth dimension and walking into this new age of Aquarius and all this stuff we're talking about. All of it is coming into play. All of it is coming into play. So this newness, or this new beginning, isn't anything that is not something we have already partaken in. It is, no, remember, it is the fullness of what has already happened. So what we are seeing now, what we are experiencing now, is who we are. So when I talk about taking on the role of a parent, I'm talking about the action. It's a parent does not have the role of being proactive. Reactive. A parent has the role of always being ready for what it needs to be ready for. A parent gives love and affection without expectations. A parent is always there and alert, and that energy never rests. The character of father, mother never rest. So as we become this thing, we're no longer on the sidelines. There is nothing that should shake us to the core. There is only opportunities. As we talked about yesterday, there are times we will have to still pick up the phone and call each other. But the thing is, look at who you are. Just like one of your children, if your child did something, you do whatever it takes to correct the situation, including chastising your children. So as a parent, as a spiritual parent, everything moved us into this direction. And hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come in earth as it is in heaven. The stirring up is so that the parents can combine the virtues and the enlightenment that is heavenly to bring it into the earth. And the only way we do that is through these actions. The only way you see it, whether you look at it from a masculine and feminine perspective, the only way that she gives birth is if there is some agitation, and that there has to be some type of coupling. And we are the catalyst for that coupling. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'm hoping, I'm saying this and not being confusing.
Um,
Yes,
Are you saying that when we begin to truly embrace who we are,
mhm,
we take on the role of a womb, meaning that we become the seed as well as the womb,
as the womb.
and in doing so, you birth what is necessary for the children, meaning that those who are not aware of who they are. And in birthing what is needed, you also sow the seeds that's necessary to bring them to a place of desire to understand the essence of their being. And that means that if that is the case, that means that we are always in a position to be the source of enlightenment, regardless of what the circumstances are. And because of that, we are indeed bringing the light of a womb into the earth, the darkness of the earth. So we are bringing the order of enlightenment to the chaos of the chaos in the earth, which brings order to it. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. In a nutshell. In a nutshell. Let's talk about the seeds a little bit.
So let me carry it a little bit further, May.
Yes, sir.
So when it says, hallowed be thy name, right?
Uh-huh.
It is talking about the enlightening character of a womb. Name represents character.
Right.
So it's talking about the hallowed or the holy or the character that is set aside for the purpose of enlightening the earth.
Yes, sir.
Now, that being the case, we recognize that everyone in the earth is not that enlightenment, neither do they desire to be. Because religion has contaminated the eyes, which prevents it prevents the eye from being recognized, meaning that religion has convinced us that everything we see with our eyes is real, and there is no such thing as a third eye. Am I right so far?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
when we embraced the reality of who we are, what we are actually embracing are the characteristics of a womb, the characteristics of father, mother, the characteristics of feminine and masculine energy, right? And embracing
Yes.
that is when we are able to function as light in this earth, as opposed to being confusion in the earth. And in doing
Yes.
that, we make provisions for everyone and everything in the earth to survive. Give us this day our daily bread is give us everything that we need. We are the source of everything that's needed in the earth for the sustenance of the earth, for the survival of the earth. Am I following you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
I love that. It takes all of us, the details that Pastor described. I can't do that. I appreciate that. I hope this is clear. Any questions on what he has said or what I have said for that matter?
Ron, this is Evelyn again. Pastor, I would like for you to elaborate a little more on hallow. We need our name. Hallowed.
Excuse me, if I'm not mistaken, hallowed speaks to the idea of being holy or being set aside for a purpose.
Yes.
And it's saying that the purpose of the character is to make provisions so that the kingdom that the kingdom of enlightenment or the kingdom of heaven becomes the same kingdom in the earth, meaning that the same principles that set the boundaries for enlightenment or for the place of light, or the boundaries that are set for the realm of the spirit, are also the principles that set boundaries for the earth. So, and in doing so, the provisions, when those boundaries are set, rather, then the provisions that are necessary for the sustaining of the earth comes from that same source, and the source from which they come is the source from which all the principles come that set the boundaries or that sets the understandings of spirituality. And when the boundaries of the understanding of spirituality are brought into the earth realm, and the earth and people or humans in the earth began to understand the principles of spirituality, then those principles that govern the spiritual realm will govern this material world as well. Does that help, Evelyn?
I'm processing.
It doesn't help. So, you asked what hallowed means. Hallowed means holy. So, if it's hallowed be thy name, it means that your character has been set aside for a purpose.
Okay.
So what is the purpose of this character being set aside? What is the purpose of this name? And right
See
after it
what we've
talks
been talking
that.
about.
Huh? What you say? Go ahead.
It's wrong. Am I coming through tonight? Is it? Can you guys hear me?
I didn't hear what you said.
Okay. I was just going to add something to what you just said. The connection that I see is what we've been talking about the last couple of days. I am that I am says that whatever I need to be, I am open to it. Whatever it takes. So my character is one with a womb, my father, mother. Whatever it takes to bring enlightenment, I am it. I move self out of the way. Ron no longer exists. My role as a parent, my role as a womb is to bring enlightenment into the earth. So the hallow part is moving me out of the way so that I can hear. I'm in a position to listen so that I can become, so that I can receive in order to be enlightenment and bring this thing into fruition the way it is designed or where it's supposed to be, so that the earth would be like heaven. There will be enlightenment. Does that help?
It does, and it also makes what we said about as above, so below. To me, it just shed more light onto what we talked about, what we've been talking about. So yeah, that makes sense also.
Same principle, Evelyn. Same principle.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
See, maybe one of the things that we should address at the onset is let's erase in our minds that this is a prayer that's supposed to be repeated.
Yes.
And let's look at this as a message that we are supposed to understand, as opposed to a prayer that we are supposed to repeat or recite. So if it's something that we are supposed to understand And if the scriptures are a mirror for who we are, then what is this mirror showing us that we have labeled as being, quote unquote, the Lord's Prayer? What is this about? What aspect of us is this addressing? And if we look at it from that perspective, what aspect of us is it addressing? Then what we began to see is we are no different. When we embrace who we are no different than the characteristics that are described in these verses. And what are the characteristics that are described in these verses? The characteristics of a womb are the characteristics that's described in these verses. And if we are the characteristics that are described in these verses, then that means that there is no difference between a womb and us. And Jesus told us that when Jesus said, I and the Father are the same. I and the Father are one. I am one with the Father. I am the same as the Father is. It's what Jesus is saying. So we are the same as a womb is. And if we are the same as a womb is, if we are the same as the Father is, then these characteristics that are listed in these verses are characteristics that we are supposed to reflect in our daily lives, but we cannot do that until we make a sincere effort to embrace them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Excuse me. Does that help, Evelyn?
Sir, it does. It does.
So thank you. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. So as we look at these verses, we are actually looking at ourselves. Because what we have done up to this point, we have looked at these verses, and these verses have represented something that we are supposed to be saying to a God that's outside of us. The religion has taught us that these verses are speaking to an entity that is beyond us, and that we are to be asking this entity to make provisions for us, when in essence, if we are the same as the Father, and Jesus told us that we are, then these verses are speaking to us about how we are to make provisions so that as above is below. Meaning that the kingdom, the rulership, the boundaries, the aspects of this kingdom that's in the spiritual realm becomes the same aspects of this earth kingdom, and the principles that guide the spiritual also guides the earth. Why is that necessary? The reason it is necessary is so that we who have been brought into this earth for the purpose of creating, we are to create in this material world the same energy, the same light that is in the spiritual world, so that the material world will be a mirror of the spiritual world. And when that happens, that means that we have fulfilled our mission for which we have been brought into the earth. And that mission is to be Elohim in the earth. And in order to be Elohim in the earth, we've said this a number of times, in order to be Elohim in the earth, we have to create in our image and likeness. And we cannot do that if we don't have the power to sustain what's in the earth. Give us this day our daily bread. We cannot be the sustenance for the earth if we don't embrace the reality of who we are. Does that make sense? Or am I confusing you?
Not at all. In fact, that was the next place I wanted to go, to daily bread. what that is not talking about day bread as we think of it. Give me whatever is needed. Help me to become or create whatever I need to be, that I am, whatever I am, need to appear to be. Let it be so. But you can explain in a lot more detail as you have. Did I interrupt you, Pastor?
No, I was waiting for you to expand on that. Give us is our daily bread.
Yeah. Again, I'm tying it to everything we've talked about. Being the I am is there's nothing left. I am that I am. I see myself as a spiritual being. I see myself, and what governs that spiritual being, what is enlightenment, what I see is I am a boom. I am a boom, a one. I am Father, Mother in the earth. So if that is my action, is that is my view, if that is what I see with my third eye, then that drives everything. And just like a mother that sees her baby for the first time and goes home with that baby, that's a bond that can't be separated. And as that baby grows into a toddler, you become whatever you need to be. The father becomes whatever he needs to be to protect his family. And there's nothing that can happen that can overwhelm your motherhood, your parenting. There's nothing that can shake you. So if you see that, if you understand that, look at it from a spiritual perspective, all this chaos doesn't matter. If you are boom, if you see that, if we understand I am that I am, and understand this thing, our Father which are, that is your connection. What it is telling you, you are connected to a boom, our a boom who art in heaven, not our Father, Mother, who art in heaven. In other words, this is the other side of you. This is the part of you that connects your humanity to your spirituality, to your soul. And that is what connects you to the universe and all that is.
It's not, I see it a little differently, not so much
Okay.
the connection to a wound as it is, we are one with. There's
One
no
with.
difference
Yes.
between a wound and us. I mean, and when you look at that, when it talks about our daily bread, what is that? What does it take to sustain us? What does it take to sustain? First of all, with all the chaos around us, what does it take to sustain us during this chaos? When we understand who we are spiritually, all of the things that look as though they are going to be destructive to the whole earth, we understand that they are simply a paper tiger, a distraction, something to keep us from embracing who we are. But at the same time, they are a catalyst that pushes us to hold tighter to who we are and to dig deeper within ourselves so that we are able to not only understand the enlightenment or the wisdom of the universe, but to be able to articulate it in such a manner that is put in the macro, and it began to soothe humanity. It began to take this sting out of death, or take this fear from the hearts of humanity. It's like when Moses was trying to get Israel, or get the Hebrews to go into the land of promise, what they see, when Joshua and Caleb went in and they came back and told them that the land was inhabited by giants, Joshua and Caleb saw that the giants were paper tigers. But the people were afraid because they had not even seen the giants. They didn't even know how tall they were. They didn't know anything about them, but it was the words that they were afraid of. And here we are today. We listen at all the chaos in the earth. We listen at what's happening in North Korea. We listen at what's happening in the Middle East. We listen at all of these things that's going on. We listen to what Donald says about arresting people who he disliked. We listen at what all of the white supremacists are saying about the returning us people of color to the state that we have been in. We listen to all of that. And if we are afraid of those things, it is no different than Israel being afraid of those giants. The Hebrews being afraid of the giants that they had never seen. And not listening to Joshua and Caleb. Now, what am I saying to you? I'm saying to you, this daily bread includes feeding you an understanding of who you are so that you will not be captured by fearing what you see in this chaotic world. You won't be afraid that this world is going to be destroyed and you along with it. You understand that you are the catalyst that has been brought into this earth to create in your image, meaning create within the hearts of men the image of Elohim, so that this chaos can be brought to a place of order. And the only reason that things are as chaotic as they are is because there is a man standing in the gap, meaning that there is a physical human, or there are physical humans who are standing between heaven and earth. And these physical humans who are standing between heaven and earth are a bridge for the light of spirituality to permeate the earth so that order can be brought to this earth. And when that light of spirituality permeates the earth, it begins to open the eye of humanity. And it begins to see religion through the eye rather than the eyes. Because religion is the blinding force for the eye, not the eyes. Religion teaches us to look at the cross. Religion teaches us that we are to obey all of these holy days, the things that we can see, feel, touch, and smell, as opposed to the spiritual experiences that we are supposed to have. So with this daily bread comes everything that we need to abate the fear, to abate all of those misconceptions that we have been given about who we are and about how we are supposed to function in this earth. I have not read any place where I was able to see exactly how we're supposed to function in this earth. However, I have seen it through the eye because of what has been revealed to us over the years. And in seeing it, it has become my experience. Therefore, the things that I see with my eyes don't move me. I look at them with my eye, and that's how I read the signs of the time. We are in a period of manifestation now. We have crossed a bridge from desire to a bridge of manifestation. Yes. The desires of our hearts are being manifested as we move forward. And we must be attuned to that, and we must not be fooled by those shiny things that appear to be a change in humanity. For example, a shiny thing would be Biden beating Trump in the presidential election. A shiny thing would be us depending on the government to change its stripes so that all of humanity can be taken care of. Those are shiny objects that takes our eyes off the prize. when in reality, what we are expecting to manifest is a change in the hearts of humanity. And the change in the heart of humanity changes the direction of humanity in the earth. And that direction change brings about a deeper sense of love and kindness for humanity, as opposed to a sense of separated for the purpose of being able to control. Does that make sense?
Does
Any
indeed.
questions about that?
It
Because
does.
I do want to look at them as well. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
It does line up. I have a question again. How does the multi-breasted one line up with our daily bread? Does that have any significance, or does it have anything to do with one with the other?
The multi-breasted one is simply a description of how we're fed. And that simply means that regardless of what you need at the time, that it is available to you. And the multi-breasted one also speaks to the concept of everyone can be fed at the same time. You don't have to wait your turn to receive the nutrients that you need, the spiritual nutrients that you need to function in the way that you were created to function. You don't have to wait after Ron get his for you to get yours. All of us can receive at the same time.
And
Yes.
Pastor, we can all give at the same time. That's where we are.
We can, we do.
Yes, we receive and we give. We are the multi-breasted one now. That too is into play.
And Evelyn, the questions you're raising is also a source of nutrients. It feeds. Why? Because what the question does, it bursts something. The question is a seed that brings out of the womb a clarity of an understanding of wisdom. Does that make sense, Evelyn?
It does. It makes a lot of sense, because when you were talking, that's what I saw. But another thing I noticed too, you said something that I've never heard said on this broadcast before, is that we are a womb. And it makes so much sense. We didn't know that we are a womb. And to put it on a physical level thing, for example, I'll just say with me, at the agency, I realize I am a lot of people mother, father, because,
Breaking up a little bit, babe.
Okay, let me move. I said at the agency, I realized that I have to treat certain people like they're my children, mainly the Caucasians, because they used to dipping in their parents' business. They don't have any, some of them don't have any type of discipline. And when you realize your role, or understand or become or understanding your role, you realize you have to treat them in a different way. Some of the Africans, they know when to back off because of how they were raised. Does that make sense what I'm saying? But you bring life to us being at womb, and now I'm getting it, if that makes sense.
Well, you don't treat all your children the same.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's the same principle. I'm anxious to look at the next verse, though.
Can I say this though to what Evelyn just said? I like the part you say. See, as a parent, what you were saying is I'm cognizant of who I am. So when I walk into these places, whether it's at the grocery store, whether it's at Walmart or at work, I'm cognizant of who I am. I take this with me because it's who I am. It's not something I got to put on and say, okay, I'm a boom right now because I got to go outside and go to the store. No, it's who you are. I am a parent. I am the nourishment. I am the enlightenment of the earth. It doesn't mean I'm gonna go out there and or take anything off anybody. It's just your attitude. The enrichedness of who you are will show. That light will show. Your desire for bringing love and harmony will show. So yeah, that was important when you said that. I'm sorry, Pastor.
Uh, you're fine. The reason I'm anxious to get to that is because we have been taught that we are supposed to forgive, right?
Yes.
And we have been taught that even by the church. Am I right? Yes, you're
Yes.
right.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. Guess what else we were taught by the church? You cannot forgive sins. Only God can do that. Were we not taught that?
Yeah.
So how can we be taught to forgive? So we're supposed to forgive, and then by the same from the same breath, told that we can't forgive. So when we look at this, we understand something. We are to forgive all entanglements, regardless of what they are. Not only are we to forgive the entanglements of others, but we are to forgive our entanglements.
Yeah.
If I cannot forgive myself for the entanglements that I have been in, the entanglements that you have shown me that I'm caught up in, if I can't forgive that, then how can I forgive yours? So this whole idea of forgiving our debt or forgiving our entanglements, but everything, if you owe me something, and I'm not just talking about money, I'm talking about respect. I'm talking about if you owe me an opportunity, all the things that you could possibly owe me, if you keep that away from me, then I am supposed to forgive you for that. When I first came back to South Carolina, there was a hearing aid company that I talked with on the phone for an interview. Well, when I came back from DC, I did not have this Southern drawl that I probably have now that I don't recognize. So on the phones, I was off at the job. But when I walked to them in person and they saw that I was an African man, all of a sudden the job had been taken. So they owed me that particular job. Was I angry with them? Yes, I was. However, since that, I have learned that I have to forgive because they took something away from me that was supposed to be mine. So forgiveness is not just for infractions that we have listed. And forgiveness is for anything that has come to you in an adverse manner, or anything that has been directed towards you that was supposed to diminish you in any capacity whatsoever. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes. So,
Yes.
so in order for us to be able to forgive, we have to be no different than the progenitor of forgiveness. And the progenitor of forgiveness is the creator of all things. So we cannot possibly be able to forgive on one hand and not on the other. Therefore, this speaks also to the reality that these scriptures, these verses are speaking about us. They are actually defining or showing us the characteristics of our being. And when we are guided by them, it is then that we function without having, as Ron said, I'm gonna put on a wound jacket today because I'm going out to do some stuff. No, that's who you are. You don't get up in the morning and say, well, I'm gonna put on my Evelyn coat today. No, you're Evelyn all the time. You're Kathy all the time. You are a wound all the time. Jesus did not say, sometimes I and the Father are the same. Jesus said, we are one. And by saying that, Jesus is saying, these are characteristics of you. These are your traits. These are this is the character of a groom. And if you are one with, this is also your character. I'm done.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, y'all? Comments? I love the fact that where we are. I hope sometimes in our meditations that we see where we are and look at the journey that we've taken. I think when we discuss the eighth sense and where we are, and even in our studies is an indication of how far we've come. What do I mean? Some of these verses we've discussed 2 and 3 times. But just like when you're in school, you learn the ABCs in the first grade, but by the time you're in the 12th grade, now you're using those same symbols to put together to write papers. You first learn to write them into words, make those symbols into words and those words into sentences. Now you're writing papers with them, but you're still dealing with the ABCs. But it talks about that explanation, I hope, shows you that every time you look at them, you're not doing anything different. You're building on what you've already learned. So we are uncovering and seeing more and more of ourselves as we revisit these verses. So, but I hope everybody got a thought from this. And if not, please jot it down and send a text and we'll discuss it even further. Any thoughts, questions on anything we've talked about this evening?
I think that we should continue, discussing this.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because this speaks volumes about what it means to embrace the reality of I am.
Yeah.
This speaks volumes about that. Especially when we get into the subsequent verses.
Okay.
So I think that it is important for us to look at it. When you meditate, why would I meditate on this if this is not who I am?
Yeah.
This means pay close attention to,
Yeah, sure.
But I'm done for now.
Thank you, Pastor. Angela, do you remember, I want to try to find the video you were speaking of. You said you saw it on YouTube?
Yeah, it's on, it was TikTok and I looked on YouTube. It's on YouTube, too.
What's it called? Do you remember?
Wait, I think it was just giant puppets, underwater. You can just put in, giant puppets, underwater.
Giant puppets. These are puppets. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What was your question then? If these are puppets, what is it you wanted to know? I'm not I just want to make sure I'm following.
No, while they was kept underwater, and they was feeding one cake, and they was actually eating the cake. They were putting the cake in his mouth. They had pulled it out of the water, and they had these. It was some kind of heavy tools. They had to pull them up out the water, and they had a scuba diver, like one of them big old scuba diver hats on, and they was pulling them up, and then I seen one on there where they was feeding. And I said, why, if it's a puppet, why are they feeding him cake? Or he or she cake?
Okay. Well, I tell you what, then I'll take a look at it this week and see if I can find and take and we'll discuss it Saturday. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Thank you. Appreciate the question.
Mhm.
Is there anyone else before we get off? Again, take a look at this, if you will, and meditate, because I think we're at a beautiful place, y'all. We are at a beautiful
Right.
place. Yes.
Don't forget to let Pastor, do the wrap up of what George did yesterday, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yeah. What George said yesterday was in response to Linda's question about December the 31st, 2023. What George did in his explanation, he took the 12th month, which is 3, 2 and 1 is 3. The 31st is 4, so that's 7. And then he took the 2023, which is 2023. That is 7. And when you add the 2, you get 14. And 4 and 1 is 5. And he said that the foundation of 5 is manifestation. And he said that some other things about 5, of course, but the main thing that he said was is manifestation. And what I think that what was maybe missed was, how did he arrive at 14 in order to end up with 5? Am I right?
Yes,
Yeah.
you are.
Okay, so that's how he arrived at 14. Now there probably some other things in regards to that he would like to add himself, but for those who just may not be on when he's on, I want to do that, okay?
Okay.
Because I am going to ask him to repeat also again what he said, but I did remember that much of it. And again, I want to do that because there are people who may not be on when he does that. All right.
Thank you.
Kathy, I hope that helps.
It did. I appreciate it, but I do want to hear again because that ties into everything you were teaching tonight. So I definitely want to hear what he said one more time to make certain that I got it.
Okay, most definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, thank you.
Ron,
Yes, ma'am.
this is
Yes, ma'am.
Evelyn.
Hey, Evelyn.
I just read back over what we talked about, and I looked at the word Father. I know it's the reason why it's there. And y'all tell me if I'm wrong, because I just saw this. When we needed clothes, my mom would tell my dad, so-and-so need a coat. And my dad would work to get the coat. And I realized that mother and father have different roles. So you think that is why that father is there, because it says that the father knows what needs, oh my God, where is it? The father knows what things you have need of before you ask him. But do you think that would have the same principle as the physical? And it's just something for us to think about, chew on until we get back on Saturday. But I just saw that. So, okay. I just wanted to bring that up.
Evelyn, is different. And the reason it's different is because everywhere you see Father in the New Testament, it's a womb.
Okay.
And it doesn't speak to an individual as Father. It speaks to the feminine and masculine energy. When we look at this from a physical perspective, what happens is the feminine aspects of that male can be seen more clearly in that feminine person who's in its life. What I'm saying is this: let's say, for example, that let's say Phoebe represents shows you the feminine side of me, and I show you the masculine side of her. Why is that necessary? Because I cannot see the feminine side of me, and she cannot see the masculine side of her. So the feminine, the one who is female, becomes a mirror for the feminine aspects of that male. And the reason it is like that is because in the body, this physical body, we believe that there is a separation between male and female when it really isn't. We are all spiritual hermaphrodites. All of us. We are androgynous. We are male and female. The difficulty in that is because we are seeing with our eyes. So we take the maleness takes its cues as far as femininity is from the feminine energy that is closest to it or that mirrors it. There are boys who are reflective of the female in their life, and there are females who are reflective of the maleness in their life, which means that my girl says to me that I am the reason that they are not, quote unquote, married or with someone, because the example that I have set for maleness is difficult to be replicated in their lives. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, but it does make sense, but, and I know that Aboom represents physical and masculine, feminine and masculine. Let me just think on this. I heard everything you say, but okay. Let me look at it some more, because
there is no individual man representing the masculinity of the scriptures, the masculine aspects of the scripture. A man does not represent that.
I got that part, Pastor Jay, but it's like I just see it in a different way, and I don't want to hold up the line. Let me really look at this again, and if we will, can we just talk about it on Saturday? Let me look at it some more, okay?
So, Ellen, how you say in a different way? What do you see, if you don't mind asking?
Okay, it goes back to what I said earlier about when we needed stuff, my mom, and I know when you have two parents in the household, they're Aboom. But when we needed something, my mom said, Louis, so-and-so needs this. And my dad would work and get it. That's how they work together on things. So that's the physical way I'm seeing it. And I heard everything Pastor Jay said. I got that. But I just, for some reason inside of me, I just see it like this until I get clarification on it. I'll just let you know when it's resonating with me, because I need to be honest with you. I'll just stop right there.
You said something though that I want to address, or at least get you to see. Both of them were just as active in getting you that coat. It wasn't just your father. You see?
If your mama hadn't said you would go.
It wasn't just the father. It was them working together. It was them as one. And even you guys as children knew that. You knew that. It was her that you went to when you needed something. And she's the one that saw that you got to. How did she see that you got it? Through him.
Right. I got that part. When the household, the wives used to do work. And when the wife needed something, she would go to the husband, who was the provider at that time. And she would say, someone need a coat. And Dad would go and get the coat. He would work and get the coat. That's what I see. But again, I have to be truthful with you guys. I just need more clarity on that. That's all I'm saying.
I think one of the things that we're doing, or at least is uprooting the misconceptions that's in the scriptures. Because especially if you read the first 3 or 4 chapters of Genesis, you would think there were no women in the world. And even in the New Testament, you don't see where women were given credit for anything. So that's what is in us. That's what we're uprooting now. And that is why it is important that we embrace a boom and understand what it means, that it is much masculine and it is feminine. But yeah, if however long it takes, how long it takes, Evelyn, we'll keep looking at it.
That's what I love about my family. We there for each other. Thank you.
Yeah, whatever it takes is what we'll do. Anyone else? Okay. Well, I hope you guys are having a good start to your year. We have something beautiful to meditate on, and have a good weekend. I look forward to Saturday. And thank you. Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.